Right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Ask Andy Live. It is great to have you all back here again. I'm here to answer your questions, if I can, of course. I'll do my best. Obviously, money ones make sense, and you can ask me other stuff. I might not answer it, but we'll see how that goes, shall we? We've got a few people already joining over on YouTube. Christopher Hubbard says hello. Rob says hi, Andy. Dr. Gregorian, PhD, says yo. Stuart says evening. Chris Kemp says hi, Andy. Great to have you guys here. A few of you starting to come along now as well over on Instagram. Hi to Isabel and hi to My Life. As ever, you guys, you're very welcome to just lurk. But if you have got questions for me, this is the time to do it. And the earlier you ask the question, the better chance you've got. I actually will have time to answer it. Plan to be here for around sort of 35 40 minutes today. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so let's get cracking, shall we? Right, Stuart has got a question here over on YouTube. And Stuart says, what's your thought on the economy, on the increased cost of living? Will the government put the brakes on to slow things down? And how will this affect investments and pensions? That's a heavy hitting one to start off with there, Stuart. Obviously, the cost of living, you can't have escaped it. None of us can escape it. Things are more expensive, whether that's petrol pumps to energy bills, just the things at the supermarket. And sometimes stuff might not be so obviously more expensive. Last week on the live, a lot of you told me about you'd seen shrinkflation going on again. So it's the same price, but the package was a little bit smaller. So that's happening, right? Things are getting more expensive. There are so many things that are causing that right now. Obviously, Brexit has had an impact on that. COVID has had an impact on that. A combination of the two combined has an impact on that, but also just broader things around the world. So I mean, I'm not an economist, right? I'm just not what I do. I'm here to help you your personal finance and your money saving. So it's impossible for me to know exactly which way this is going to go. There are people this week saying that this is a temporary thing. It's based on the fact that 12 months ago we were still in the pandemic, so prices were lower, and things are reacting to that as well as all the other things. And some of these things will resolve themselves over time. So this ex-Bank of England person was just saying, look, we don't think we should raise interest rates, but all the sort of speculation, it's always speculation. These things, I've been doing this long enough to know that one week people are saying interest rates are going up, the next week they say they're going down, and who knows what, often they just stay the same. But a lot of speculation is that these things are going to be going up before the end of this year, not by a huge amount, but potentially the rumors are by this time next year it could be a 0.75% interest rate. Now, what in fact that has on things like investments and pensions, again, not really my wheelhouse here in terms of sort of like that kind of information, exactly how that's going to work. But ultimately, inflation could be seen as a bad thing there. I think all we can do really is to just kind of keep an eye on stuff and see what happens. We have got the budget next week where the Chancellor will kind of reveal the latest plans. We know a lot of the stuff that's going to be happening in terms of, well, we think we know a lot of the things that might be happening in terms of tax rises, like national insurance and stuff that's already been announced, but there could be more things coming along. But yeah, so not the best answer to that one, Stuart, but it's good for us. It's a good one to be involved in this and thinking about this stuff. We've got loads more of you who have popped along over on Instagram as well. We've got Sustainer Billy, we've got Happy Light, we've got Volk Martin, we've got Mr. Terry B, we've got Sean, and we've got Vlog. Oh, Vlog has said, what's the best way to save money these days? Is it an ISA? This is a really interesting question, actually. And someone actually asked this on Instagram the other day as another question. They actually have some money in an ISA. Now, for those of you who don't know too much about cash ISAs, the idea behind a cash ISA is that the money you earn, the interest you earn on your savings, is tax-free. So you don't get charged any tax in it. So let's say your basic rate of tax is 20%. That's what you pay. If you'd earn £10 of interest, you would pay £2 out on tax elsewhere. And the ISA was set up to protect this. And the most you can put in an ISA every year is £20,000. But once it's in that package, it stays in that package every single year. So you can put 20 grand in one year or up to 20 grand, up to 20 grand in another year, and so on. It will continue to be, any earnings you make, any interest you make, that will continue to be tax-free. However, what was it, 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that, something new was introduced called the personal savings allowance. I'm going to say it's maybe 5 or 6 years ago. The personal savings allowance is basically on any interest you make, you can have a certain amount of it tax-free completely, whether it's held in an ISA or in a normal savings account. And the limits depend on how much you earn. So if you are a basic rate taxpayer, that 20% tax rate payer, you get £1,000 interest you can earn in a year, no tax is earned on it, okay? If you are a higher rate taxpayer, so that 40% bracket, so you're earning over £50,270 a year, that drops down in half to £500. And if you're a really, really high earner, it starts to taper down eventually to nothing. But for most of us, £500 or £1,000 with the current interest rates we can get right now, you're going to really struggle to actually get a grand of saving. So from that point of view, it's irrelevant that you have an ISA, your money in an ISA, or you have it in another savings account elsewhere, because you're not going to pay tax on it. And if you have so much money in cash savings that you do get into that personal savings allowance, then you are probably got too much in savings and cash savings, because you only really need to have, unless you're saving for something like a mortgage or a wedding or something really expensive, you only really need to have 3 to 6 months of expenses available to you in cash savings. So for most of you, I would say, if you want to put your money in a savings account, go for the one that pays the highest rate of interest. Now, I've got a video that I did a couple of weeks ago on this, or maybe just a week ago, on the YouTube channel, article on the blog again, which regularly updates every single day. I look at this and make sure the best rates are available. Have a look on there, see what the best rates are. Now, there will be a handful of exceptions where the cash ISA is still relevant for you. And so obviously, if you are someone with a high earner, that might be great for you, or you're worried about, the ongoing, in the future, how things might change. Because obviously, if interest rates do increase to a substantial amount, you have a lot of money and you will bypass that. So you might want to put some of it away in a cash ISA. So do that sort of research there. Of course, the flip side to the ISA allowance, and I won't go into detail on this now, but the flip side is that £20,000 is also spread between any other ISA you have as a combination. So if you have a lifetime ISA, you can put up to £4,000 in there. That £4,000 comes out of that 20K. If you have a stocks and shares ISA for investments, again, any money you have in there comes out of that £20,000. So you have to make sure that if you are having any cash ISAs and stocks and shares ISAs and lifetime ISAs, and there are some other options as well, the innovative finance ISA, that it doesn't breach in a financial year. So April to April doesn't go beyond that £20,000. More questions on ISA later. We can talk about that as well. We've got Finance D has joined in, Karen has joined, Sharp has joined, Weekend Baker has joined, Money Saving Girl has joined, Hayes Martina, ALKS has joined. Abdullah is joining us as well over on YouTube. Hi Andy, hope you're well. Happy Tuesday. Can't believe how dark it gets now. It really does. It is so, I mean, it is. It's pitch black outside my window here right now. And in the mornings as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good, but I'm not getting woken up too early by the sunshine, which I moan about in the summer that it's too bright. And now it's too dark. I'm like, what time? Oh my God, it's 8:30. Again, don't need to set an alarm when you work for yourself, but you do need to get to the office as soon as you can. What else we got going here? Foish is here, says evening all. Nadine says, hi Andy, hey Nadine. Tracy says, good evening. How do you save on your bills on a practical basis? Okay, so that's a really interesting one. If you haven't already, listen to the episode of Cash Chats that came out this morning. Cash Chats is my podcast for those of you who don't know about it already. Do check it out. So just search Cash Chats on whichever podcasting app that you use, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even on Amazon, Google, Deezer, any of these places, you'll find it on there. Or you can go to the blog, becleveryourcash.com, and you'll see in the menu there's a podcast episode 225. That's from today. And I was joined by my friend Naomi, who runs the Skint Dad blog. And we actually talked about some of the practical things you can do in your home to reduce your energy use. Because we know right now, you can't, if you've been watching like this every week or every other week, you'll know, or in fact, if you've seen the news, open a paper, you'll know what's been going on with energy prices. They are increasing. And even if you want a fix right now, when that fix ends, you will go on to a more expensive deal. Right now, it's not a good idea to fix. Maybe in 4, 5, 6 months' time, maybe fixes will be back on the market in terms of how they represent a cost, but it's still going to be a lot more than you're paying right now. So realistically, if you can't switch to save money, what can you do? And ultimately, it's saving. It was using less energy. So it's, again, check out this episode of the podcast. It's a good chat with Naomi. But it's things like, and the things right? You know about this. We don't always do it, but it's making sure we turn the lights off, making sure we unplug things when they're on standby, making sure we only boil the amount of water in the kettle that you need to for that, what you're using it for. Don't boil more water than you need. All that kind of stuff. So again, check out that podcast. I also touch in that episode, we look at what you should do when your fix ends and look at some of the areas you might be able to get support if you are really struggling, or if you're at certain benefits or a certain age, you might also be able to get some payments if it gets particularly cold and stuff. So make sure you do check that one out. Vlog has said, use a blackout blind. Before you talk about the heating there, you talk about me in the mornings. Yeah, I know about blackout blinds in the summer, but we bought these blinds which weren't blackout blinds, so we're not going to buy new blinds just so I can get an extra 10 minutes sleep. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But also blinds are good for keeping it energy in. So that's a double comment there. Fantastic. Hi to Jerry and Dr. Razas, and to Julie, and to Melanie, and to Zach, and to Nix P. What else we got going on here? Actually, also, let's think what else. Tracy, how do you save your bills on a practical basis? Again, let's talk about a few more of those. If you've got any tips for cutting your bills, let me know. I'm actually going to do, I think, a podcast episode next week, more on bills, more ways we can reduce the cost of those, because as the cost of living does increase, finding money wherever we can is a great one. Quick one to share with you. I think this is, again, I've been answering, before I do this live, I normally go through YouTube, Instagram, email, and try and answer as many of the questions that you sent me as possible. I'll give myself a couple of hours every week to do this. Don't always have time to do all of them, but as many as I can. And my video on cancelling Sky, for some reason, it's gone really, really, really popular. I did it like 6 months ago, suddenly getting a huge amount of traffic every single day. And obviously the reason is that is because people are thinking, right, how do I cancel Sky? How do I save money on my bills? And a lot of the time when I talk about cancelling Sky, the reason to do that isn't because Sky necessarily gives you a bad service. It's the fact that you can get the vast majority of what you get with Sky for less money with Now TV, or Now as it's now called. You can get most of them. You can get most of the channels. You can watch them on demand. Yes, you can't record and stuff, but generally you can get them without a contract for less money. But what also tends to pop up with those things is that people go, okay, right, I'll move down from Sky or Virgin to Now, but they're also subscribing to Netflix, subscribing to Disney Plus, subscribing to Amazon Prime. Maybe there's a BritBox or a Star Plays or whoever knows, another streaming service in there. And frankly, right, if you want a practical tip to cut down your bills, there is no way you can watch one streaming service to its full potential in a month, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You just can't. Appreciate sometimes there's certain shows you want to watch them when they come out, the week they come out, or everyone's talking about it, like Squid Game, which I still haven't watched it. I need to do that. But you want to kind of watch it there so you don't get spoilers or be part of the conversation. But you can mix and match. So 1 month do Disney, 1 month do Netflix, 1 month do Now TV, and just move around them. And that will save yourself, if you're doing all these services, 20, 30 quid a month. And again, while we're talking about how things are right now, how tight things are, that is really, really going to make a big difference over the year. So Abdallah has asked a question here. I'm wondering about getting the Chase account. Is it a debit or a credit card? Also, I've kept asking this, but what's the best credit cashback card? So if you haven't watched the video on my YouTube channel that I released on Sunday, I look at cashback credit cards and cashback cards in general. Should you, now we have this Chase debit card, this current account from Chase Bank, offering 1% cashback every single month. So Abdallah, it is a debit card, not a credit card. For 12 months. Only for 12 months you get this cashback. Who knows what will happen in that 12 months? Maybe they'll extend it, maybe they'll do another offer, but who knows? That's what it is right now. Do you actually need a cashback credit card anymore? And I would say on the whole that if you don't, okay? Because a debit card is a better way to spend than a credit card, unless you want Section 75 protection. This is consumer protection on anything that costs more than £100 and less than £30,000. If something goes wrong with it, it doesn't turn up, it breaks really quickly, the credit card company is equally liable as the people you bought it from the retailer. So you'll be able to get your money back from the credit card company. So that is an invaluable service. If things are expensive, then absolutely a credit card is a great way to pay for it. And therefore a cashback credit card is the best way to pay for it because you'll earn something back from that purchase. The only other reason I would still think that it's worth going with a cashback credit card is if you are new to American Express, because those welcome bonuses are fantastic. So again, all the details in the video from Sunday and on the blog as well. If you want to check that, if you want to read rather than watch, that is the place to go. That will answer that question for you, Abdallah. And I'm so, okay. And Abdallah's also asked here, can you explain what is national insurance? I know what tax is, but what's the purpose of national insurance? Okay, so I've actually got, I can't remember the episode title. I've got a podcast episode from earlier this year where I'm joined by Carla Hope from the Rethink Tax blog. And we actually talk through what the basic types of tax that we pay are, because we don't always know about these things. So check that out, Cash Chats, and just scroll through the episodes and you'll see the one about tax. That's what it was. It was in the sort of spring, summertime. But ultimately, basically, this is just to explain what national insurance is. It is a tax, and you pay this on your salary. So you have essentially two taxes come on your salary when you get paid. You have income tax, and that one mentioned before, that 20% is the basic rate taxpayer. So if you earn between £11,570 and £50,269, you will pay 20% tax of that amount of money in that bracket. Okay, so if you only earn 12 grand, you'll pay 20% of that, just under 500 quid in tax. If you earn 40 grand, you'll pay 20% of the difference between 11,570 and 40 grand in tax. If you earn more than that £50,270 in a financial year, that April to April, You then move into the 40% tax bracket, but you don't pay 40% tax on anything below that bracket, only on anything above that. So if you earn an extra £1,000 over £50,270, you would pay, oh, right, my smart speaker's joining in there, I should have turned that off. Then you will pay £400 of that grand in income tax. Now, national insurance is the other tax that comes out of your salary. There are different thresholds, again, where this comes into play. I can't tell you them off the top of my head, but they're easily found online. And this, again, tax comes out. You pay some of it, but also your employer will also have it in national insurance contributions as well. So when you get a pay rise, you will see a bit more money, but you'll lose some of it in income tax. You'll lose some of it in national insurance, but also your employer will pay a little bit more national insurance as well. Now, fundamentally, there are sort of things that certain taxes go to certain things, but ultimately you could treat it as one sort of big pot and the government just divvies it up for their spending. But there is something else important to talk about with national insurance, and this is national insurance credits. So as long as you earn over a certain amount in a year, and it's something like around £6,000, I think, again, don't hold me to the figures, you can find them online. You qualify for a national insurance credit for that year. You can also get national insurance credits if you are claiming some benefits, so universal credit, for example, or child benefit. You will qualify for a national insurance credit for that year. Now, sometimes if you don't get a full year, you have a partial year and you're able to top that up to make it into a full year. And this is important when it comes to state pensions, because when you eventually get your state pension, the rules will have changed by the time we all get there, right? But ultimately, where it is right now, and it'll be probably just an expansion of this, you have to have a certain number of national insurance years, qualifying years, in order to get the full state pension. And there's a level where you get some of it and a level where you get the full amount and a level below it where you don't get it at all. So it's really, really important that you check your national insurance record. Again, you can do that very simply on the government's ID website. You just sign in. If you haven't done it already, I have got an article on that on the blog, so you'll be able to find that. Go to becleverwithyourcash.com, search for national insurance, and that should come up. And you will be able to see if you've got any gaps, how many years you've got. But ultimately, 35 years is what you should be aiming for right now before you retire to get that state pension. Of course, they could extend that as we get older, but that's something to absolutely look at. Hope that helps. Ryan has said, hi Andy, as the Chase current account is a MasterCard, will it have the same protection as if it were a credit card? So no. So there are some fundamental differences in those protection. I mentioned that section 75 protection, that is just for credit cards. With a debit card, you get access to something called chargeback, where there's no legal right to this, but essentially you can go to your bank and you can say that I've paid this money, I've not received my service or whatever it might be, my product, and they can decide to give you that money back, charge that money they give it back to you, and they charge the other company and take the money from them. Now, that can be reversed on appeal if the company can say, no, that's not right, and it can be reversed. And there was also this weird story last week that Money Saving Expert revealed from an investigation that Ryanair were preventing customers getting onto flights if they'd used chargeback during the pandemic to get their money back. And they say, look, if you want to get on this new flight you've booked, you have to give us the money back from before, even though they couldn't take that flight. So it's not the best thing in the world, but the Ryanair thing is an extreme thing, and it's still an important right to remember if something goes wrong, to try chargeback. But if you really want to make sure anything over £100 is protected, then a credit card is the one to go for. Sam says, sticking with Chase, is using Chase as their main bank now. I've heard a lot of you doing that as well. Those of you who like me, those real money geeks, you want to get your money back as soon as you can, using that. Interesting to know if you guys are using it in that kind of, if you watched my video, I read my article, I talked about how it potentially could be quite a good way to help you budget as well. One of the things I find when I use my cashback credit cards, my American Express, for my spending, is that I don't really have necessarily access to all those analytics tools you might get with some of the banks to see where my spending is going. I know there are those aggregator apps. Amex isn't really working with those right now, so that's quite frustrating. But also, you're just spending the money. And I know that I've got enough money. I don't spend stupidly. I know that I spend within my means. But what I would quite interested to try with Chase, if we didn't have a welcome bonus on Amex, so I'm not actually using my Chase, but to find out exactly whether, like, okay, this month or this week, I'm going to set myself a limit, a budget of 100 quid, 150 quid, 50 quid, whatever it might be, or potentially even break it down into smaller pots and see how that went. So I'm interested to know if you guys are doing that as well, or just topping it up as and when, as you need to, when you run out of cash. So do let me know your experiences there. Nixby has said, when did you get your £130 reward from Santander for switching banks? I've been told 90 days before I get it. Absolutely, that is the case. So this is a Santander bank switching deal. You might, if you're not in the community we have on Facebook or see my Twitter account, you might have missed this. They've extended that deal. It was meant to end on Thursday, on the 21st. This £130 switching offer. They've extended it to the 2nd of December. So if you haven't taken advantage of it yet, you've got time. Again, read my article on the blog, which has more details on that. It's probably the best option to go for that one. Again, search in Santander and it will pop up on the website. But yes, the way this works is you switch in as a new or existing customer, close the old account, and then you've got to do a few things within 60 days of that switch. So you've got to pay in £1,000, and that money doesn't have to stay there, it just has to go in at some point. So £1,000 has gone into that account, and you have to set up 2 direct debits. Now, it's not clear about that, how active those direct debits are. I would assume those direct debits should pay out twice. So once in the first 30 days, once in this next 30 days. So it's still an active direct debit in those 60 days. Santander will then check that you've met the criteria, all the different criteria for that account at the end of 60 days. And then they said they will pay out that £130 bonus within the next 30 days. So that could be within a day. Within 30 days, could be 1 day, or it could be 30 days. So ultimately, if you're starting this switch now, it's between 60 and 90 days you'll get the money. But to be safe, just assume it's going to be 90 days before you get that money. Quick shout out to a few more people who've joined in. Intra Overheated Hermit, Andrew, Mr. Andy Gary, Julie Harness, Safe Journey, Graphic that joined, All Things Money, Soro, Eli, Michelle. Great to have you guys. Man, you're welcome to lurk. If you've got a question, do just shout. Simon has joined, says evening. Craig says evening. ATA Chisney says hi. The Old Turtle says hi. Old Turtle says, I like your videos, especially those about streaming services. So yeah, my YouTube channel has moved into, rather than just general personal finance, I do a lot more about bank accounts and savings accounts and credit cards now, because there's a lot of audience for that and I enjoy doing it. But there are a number of streaming ones in there, so I probably need to do another one of those soon. Maybe I'll have a look at Sky Glass. That'd be an interesting one for us to see how that's working. Exactly what the deal is there. I'm not convinced that buying a TV from Sky is going to be the best use of everyone's money, because there are going to be probably better TVs for less money available elsewhere. But it is interesting. One of the things they are doing with this is they are getting rid of that 18-month contract for Sky services. So you can have a rolling contract for Sky with the TV. Obviously, to keep paying for the TV, but if you want to, you can switch it off. So that's an interesting change. Makes it closer to Sky's Now TV offering than Sky's satellite offering. But again, we'll have a look to see how that one works out. James Brown has asked, will you be doing a video on your new Platinum Amex credit card? So I did a mention of this in the video the other day. I think I probably won't do a full video on it, because the reason I got this card is because the welcome bonus was boosted, and this is boosted until the 2nd of November. Again, all the details in my previous credit card videos. I think the September one is the best one for that, but the October one has details, and over on the blog. Because this boosted offer essentially made it much, much more worthwhile when you take into account the massive fee that comes with this card. I'm going to cancel the card once we've hit our spending target of £6,000 in 6 months, because of Christmas and birthdays and other things and rising prices. And what we normally would spend, I'm confident that within that 6 months, we will hit that £6,000 to trigger the bonus. Once we've triggered that bonus, I'm going to downgrade that Amex Platinum card. As lovely as it is in its sort of metal, shiny metal status, I would downgrade to the free membership card. So our points remain valid, the points that we've earned from the bonus and from our spending. But we will then pro rata. Once I've done that, I will then cancel the Platinum card to get a refund on that fee that I haven't spent. So that will make, I've got boosted points and I don't spend a whole year of the fee. Because if you don't have that boosted welcome bonus and you keep it for a long time and pay that full fee, there's going to be very, 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 very few people, I think, who are going to get any benefit from this. I know there will be some people, right? Some really, really big spenders, maybe some business spenders, they might, get something from it, an advantage. You get travel insurance with it, you get access to airport lounges with it. But for most of us, we don't need that, okay? So I'm not going to do a full video on it. I've mentioned it a few times. Maybe if another one of these promo bonuses has come round and I do it then at the start of that one, it makes more sense. But if I talk about it now and someone watches the video in a month, it's going to be a bit of a waste for them. But yeah. So Sashin says, can I switch my Starling account via CAS to switch to Nationwide to get the cash bonus perks? So CAS is the current account switching service. Those of you who've been watching for a while, you'll know this is the service which most of these bank switching offers require you to use. And it's a perfectly great service. Well, perfectly good service. It's very sound, very safe. It is run by the sort of financial institutions. It's not anyone dodgy, and they guarantee that when you use that service, it guarantees that your money is protected in case something goes wrong. So let's say a direct debit doesn't get transferred over, or money doesn't get transferred over in the future, you will get that money back and you won't lose out financially. Now, it's very, very rare that can happen, but of course it could do. So it's great to have that guarantee. And most of the banks, when they have these offers, they require you to use that service. Okay, so that would mean that certain banks that aren't part of that, not many of them, all the high street banks, all the big banks do this, but there might be one or two that you might have that aren't part of that service. But yeah, absolutely. Starling is one of the banks that is past that, and Monzo. In fact, of all those sort of digital banks we think of, those startup banks, only Starling and Monzo are ones that you can switch and switch out of with the current account switching service. So Revolut, you can't. Monese, you can't. Chase, you can't. So you're absolutely that. One of the things it's worth bearing in mind if you want to switch away from Starling, and we've covered this again on previous live episodes. I've talked about it in videos, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure someone might be able to jump in and sort of help out here if we need to. Both Starling and Monzo, and I'm sure other banks do as well, they may have a time limit on when you can go back to them. So if you're thinking, oh, I'll switch out Starling, get my money, and then I'll open up another Starling account, you might have to wait a while before you can do that. One of them's quite a long time out of Monzo and Starling. I can't remember which one it is, but just worth bearing that in mind. The nationwide offer, we don't have an end date for that one. Could be any time. But the fact that the Santander offer has been extended and there was a new NatWest one the other day, I think, can't guarantee it, but I think a lot of the banks who are going to keep going while there are other offers going on. We'll see what happens. One that is ending today, so if you haven't taken advantage of it and you want to, is the Lloyds one, the Club Lloyds one, £100 for switching into that account. There is a hack if you already have a Club Lloyds account where you can downgrade to a standard Lloyds account and then open up a new Club Lloyds account. This offer does come back quite regularly though, so if you miss it this time, I wouldn't say it's the end of the world. You can do it again if it comes back. If it's not in 6 months, if it's a year, you can still take advantage of that. What else we've got going on here? So Jonathan says, I'm holding off to set up my new phone and finish with my current 1% credit card. Q Coolga says, what money aggregator review video, when would it be? So do you know what? This is, I keep telling you this one. I know you guys are probably frustrated with me for this one. I've wanted to do this for years. And it's every time I go to do it, I open up, like now there are dozens of these apps that you can do your kind of look at all this stuff. And I really want to do it to the best possible one I can do. I start and it's just too much. So I'm going to have to kind of think about a way of doing it that isn't just completely exhaustive and look at every single one of those. Maybe what I'll try and do is a quick pros and cons of the main ones, the key ones that are out there that are doing the best service, and get you sort of like try for yourselves and work it out, because literally I think it would take me a week to do it properly in the way I'd really like to do it. And I just don't have the time for that, unfortunately. What I would say is, if you are looking for one to replace Yolt, which is closing down in December, both Money Dashboard and Snoop will give you an Amazon voucher for joining in and connecting account. The link for that over on the blog, becleveryourcash.com. Go to the deals section, and then in the tabs, look for banking and savings, one of the top banking and savings deals, or just search for Snoop, and one of the deals will probably come up with that. Obviously, you know, guys probably know I'm not a huge fan of Amazon. I'm not using it this year, but if you are an Amazon user, you can get yourself on a little gift card, and then you can give those apps a try and see which one you like the best. But I will do some content on this soon, I promise you. Next B is joining here. Said it is a 12-month wait with Starling. Okay, so thanks for that. It's really good to know. Donna says hello, welcome to Shaz. Who else we've got joining in? Gluten free Dan joined. The complaints resolver joined. Heidi PX joined. Welcome, guys. Lovely to have you here. Intro over Ted Hermit. Usernames are so difficult to read when you're doing it live when there's small fonts. What's a good, easy current account to set up that I could then use to switch to a bank or a switching offer later on? Thanks. Brackets Ash. Much easier for me to say Ash. There. Thanks, Ash, for that question. Really good question. I get asked this quite frequently as well. They're really any current account. You can open up any current account, and once you've got it, you can switch away. And obviously, bear in mind, every time you open up a new current account, apart from Monzo and Starling and Chase, and obviously you can't switch from Chase, so let's ignore that. But apart from Monzo and Starling, there will be a hard credit search on your report, and then you open up a new one to switch into. There'll be another hard credit search on your credit report, and that is something to be aware of. It shouldn't be a huge problem unless you are planning on something like a mortgage in the next 6 months or so, or like your really important credit balance transfer credit card you need to clear down the cost of debt. Other than that, wouldn't be too worried about it, but just something to bear in mind. Again, video and article on that if you want to learn more. But once you open an account, you can do that and switch it into any account. Now, there aren't that many which will give you something straight away, almost like an extra bonus, and then you can get that bonus and switch away. The two to consider are the TSB Spend and Save account. Now, this one you open up via a cashback site called Quidco, not Top Cashback, just Quidco. Open up the account from there, but it takes, I think, about 4 months before you get between £30 and £60 cashback, and follow some instructions for opening the account. So if you do it now, 4 months later, you've got your money from Quidco, and then you can switch that account to others. So it might be worth doing that one. Not a great account. No point keeping the Spend and Save accounts. They're pretty pointless, I think. Or you could look at the Club Lloyds account. I mentioned that they've got a bank switching bonus that ends today. When these bank switching bonuses have happened, I can't guarantee these will be the same in the future, but generally what they do is they allow previous and current customers to take advantage of the offer. And that is different to some banks where they say you can't get this switching offer if you've had an account with us since 2017, 2018, 2019, things like that. HSB and First Direct, for example, they will not let you get the switching bonus after like with a 2 or 3 or 4 year cutoff. So they're not good ones. But the Club Lloyds one, if in theory you could open it up right now as a new customer, you could potentially get the freebies for a year. So that's 6 cinema tickets, 12 movie rentals, or a magazine subscription for a year. I've done this before where I've closed my account, switched away part way for a year, and I still get to keep my magazine kept coming for that 12 months. Not quite sure if the movie rentals and the cinema tickets would be the same, but you could give that a go. Got them, get the freebie, which might take a month or something, and then switch away. And then if later on next year the Lloyds switching offer comes back and the terms are the same, you could switch into that and get your money and get another lot of freebies. So that's something to consider there. How are we doing here? Let's do another sort of 5-6 minutes. Let's just try and get through the questions we've got, guys. Again, I love doing this. Thank you so much. I really enjoy doing this every week. So I really appreciate you guys coming here as well. So I've got someone to talk to. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself, and that would be what I do when I do the other videos, admittedly, but a little bit different. John D. Niven says, to get the £130 Santander bonus for switching, do you need to set up 2 new direct debits or just have 2 switched over from your old bank account? Well, you don't have to set up new direct debits at all. In fact, if you have them in your old account, they switch over, that is fine. If you're an existing Santander customer and you have direct debits in the account and you switch into that, then you don't have to, then you've already got the direct debits there as well. So the direct debits can be there before, or whichever the old account you're switching or the account you're switching into, or if you're a new Santander customers and there are direct debits in the old account, you can switch those in. The only reason you can set up the direct debits in those accounts is if there are no direct debits in the one you're switching from or the one you're switching to. Lucretia said, I have the Amex Rewards card, which you're going to downgrade to, and to be honest, I don't think that is that bad of a card. Value is 0.45 per point, and you get offers and events. Yeah, absolutely. As a free card, the basic Amex Rewards card is pretty decent. It's very comparable with the others. And don't forget, when you earn Amex Reward points, again, there's a video on YouTube about this, you earn Amex Reward points, you can trade them in for all sorts of things. It could be you'll trade them into Amazon gift card. You could use them, that's about 0.5p per point. You could use them towards your bill, which is the 0.45 pence that the Cretch talks about. But if you switch them into Avios points and then switch those Avios points into Nectar points, it increases the value to 0.8 pence, so per point. So that is a much better, and it's the same as you'd get with the Gold Rewards card, same as you get with the Platinum card, that same value, but you're not paying an annual fee for it, and you still get things like Shop Small and other offers that you can add to your card. Jonathan says, any news from anyone about where Monese is going with its charges? Concerned they're trying to get rid of the free account. Yeah, this is something that I've talked about Monese before, and Monese is something which I found useful at times. Because from time to time they have special offers where if you enter the promo code, you could buy a gift card and you got 10, 15, 20% off. And they did a lot of these pre-pandemic, not too many in the last sort of 18 months, but I did one about a month or so ago. Didn't last for very long, so there's no time for me to share it with you guys in the videos. But again, I got £150 of Sainsbury's gift cards for 70 quid, I think. Yeah, so we've got a decent saving on those gift cards. Because I had an account with Monese. So I'm keeping hold of mine for that. But they are making it very difficult for newbies to come along. They've redone the tiers of fees. I wouldn't get any of them other than the free one. And the free one, you have to pay £5 to get your debit card. And you have to have the debit card to activate it. So I kind of think now, if you've got one, keep hold of it. Look out for these offers. If you haven't got one, there are much better options out there if you want to do fee-free spending overseas, you want to analyze your spending, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's one of those things that unless they really change things at some point, I don't think it's ever really going to stick in the UK market, particularly when Chase comes along and offers something which is much more attractive. Mr. Cole says, hi Andy, received my Chase card. Do I get the 1% cashback for everything, like government payments and utility bills, or just for daily spending only? So there is, go to the Chase website, click on the cashback option, more about cashback. It will give you a long list of exclusions. I've also got a link to that and listed those in my review over on the blogs. If you'd rather read the wider context around it as well, head to my review on becleveryourcash.com or watch the review. But on that list of exclusions, some of it's quite clear where it's not going to be accessible. So you won't get it on paying off debts, credit cards or loans, things like that. You won't get it on government services. There's maybe a little bit more ambivalence on bills and things, but I would say though, if you are wanting cash back on your bills, get a Santander 123 Lite current account. If you're paying all the bills, put them through that current account, and you will get 1%, 2%, or 3%, depending on the bill, on the vast majority of those kind of everyday household bills. There is a fee of £2 every single month, but even when you factor that in, you're still going to make 40 to 60 quid profit a year for most people. And again, right now, there's that £100 banks, which is £130 bank switching promo on top of that. So I would absolutely have a look at that one. Jonathan also pointing out, as we already mentioned, in case you missed it, if you do switch away from Starling or close a Starling account, it's 12 months before you can return to that. Don and Do says, my Tesco account is closing down next month. Not at all surprising. Yeah, this is a really good reminder if you have got a Tesco current account. In November, they will be completely closed. So you have to take some action. If there's any money in there, any direct debits, anything important in there, make sure you switch away and take advantage of a switching offer, one of these. In fact, don't just close it down, switch and get an offer if you can. But make sure you do that fast, because the deadline for that to happen is fast approaching, because you've got to allow 7 days, 10 working days, 7 working days, so 10 days for that to actually go through. Okay, so Tesco's a really good reminder there for people to act on the Tesco's. Hey to Sami and to Hasse. Oh, hey Hasse, nice to see you, mate. Heidi has said, energy saving question. I have a 5-bedroom house in which we only use 2 bedrooms on most days. Is it best to turn off the radiators in those rooms that we don't use? Yes and no. What potentially you need to bear in mind is that if you never go in those rooms and there's no heat going into them and it gets really cold, that could cause all sorts of things around damp and condensation, who knows what, okay? So what maybe you can do is just lower them down to the real minimum, like 1 or something. If you've got a thermostatic valve, turn it down to the minimum so a little bit of heat goes in. Or maybe if you've got the time, maybe you make sure that once a week or something it's heated up. But yeah, you can turn it down. And this is the idea, basically heat the rooms you use and keep the doors shut as well. That keeps the heat in there. Again, check out that podcast episode for more on that kind of thing. What are we doing on here? Oh, great, I've got about 2 minutes. Let me do a quick look at these last questions. Simon says the budget's coming at the end of October. Do you have any predictions or expectations? What I'm going to do is, as I always do with the budget, I will do a video here on the channel with the highlights, all the information you need to know, a big blog article as well on becleveryourcash.com, which take you through everything that you will need to know. And I normally get that out really quick, like half an hour after they finish talking. Sometimes there's extra information comes later in the day and add to it, but all the main headlines get out really fast so you are across what's going on. And what I might also do, so this is next week, isn't it? Next week, yeah? Right, okay, keep an eye on this. In fact, send me a comment. Let me know when this video finishes, whether you're on Instagram or on YouTube, let me know. Do you want me to do the live next Tuesday as normal? Or do you want me to do it on Wednesday, on the day of the budget, so we can talk more about that? So I'll have the video that comes out in the afternoon. You can watch that, and then later on that day we can actually go through those questions. Let me know what you want there. That would be great for us to talk about. Sadie, what is the best all-round non-Amex credit card given that I have Chase? Any idea on Santander all-in-one? Santander all-in-one, I'm not a huge fan on it because you have to pay a fee, and although you get increased cash back in some retailers and some businesses, you can get that same rate with other cards. So it feels a bit redundant, really. I wouldn't bother with the all-in-one. For most people, it might be suitable for you, but on the whole, I wouldn't use it. If you do want a non-Amex credit card, and for some reason you don't want to use the Chase, then the Barclaycard Rewards card is still my top pick. 0.25% cashback on that at home and abroad. Fee-free to use it abroad. So I guess it's if you can't use Chase and you can't use Amex, that's a good extra final backup to use. And I prefer that to the NatWest Rewards. I prefer that to the club, the Lloyds Bank cashback credit card as well. What else we got here? Edward says, where would you recommend putting a large sum of money for saving? We need access to it now and again. I would check out one of my savings videos on YouTube or the articles that I've got over the blog that go through this. But potentially one interesting place to look at is premium bonds. There's no guarantee you are going to get any money from the win any prizes from premium bonds. But with interest rates so low, effectively right now, if you do win, and maybe you win big, then it might be worth what you might lose if you had it in a different account. But ultimately, there's not a huge amount of difference between them and large sums of cash, and it's relatively easy access. It's a handful of days to get that money out. As long as you know you need to get it, you can take it out. That's it as things stand right now. Obviously, if you see interest rate changes on savings accounts or a prize rate drop on premium bonds, then that could change as well. And you're saying on a large sum of money, there are, for smaller amounts of money, you might want to look at things. You've got an Apple phone, talked about this in a recent video. The Claro app will give you 2% on 3 grand. Virgin Money will give you 2.02% on 1 grand. You can have multiple ones of those if you want to. But if you want to keep it simple, personally, I would go premium bonds, but I would check out the article in the video with more information. Right, guys, I think I'm going to have to call it a day on this one now. Sorry if I did miss out any of these later questions. A couple of votes here for doing the Wednesday live after the budget. So let's try for that. I will do a confirmation, obviously, every Thursday in my newsletter. Haven't subscribed to that, becleverwithyourcash.com/subscribe. That will come out to you this Thursday, and I'll give confirmation there exactly what I plan to do, whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday night. And obviously I will share it on the social channels and stuff, so you should be able to spot them there as well. Guys, thank you so much. I do love doing this. I really appreciate you being here, connecting with me on the channel, because it makes it very real that I do this, that I am helping you guys, and it is making a difference. So thank you so much. And yeah, have a good rest of the week, and I will see you again, yeah, either Tuesday or Wednesday next week, probably Wednesday. All right, guys, thank you.